Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 1% Happier and Healthier podcast. And this is episode 12 of our mini series, which has been following our journey to HYROX Birmingham. And we've finally made it to the last episode, which means we've actually competed on Wednesday in Birmingham.
Yes,
How was it, Anne?
awesome.
Yeah.
Best thing ever. Couldn't even describe what it would be like before I went, but now we are still buzzing, aren't we?
Yeah, we
It
did it
was really
in
incredible.
1 hour 35, which we're both totally ecstatic about and we think isn't bad for two women in their mid 50s. And
Yeah,
that's just our first one.
exactly. Watch this space.
So we're probably going to share a little bit about how it went in terms
Yeah,
of the
top tips.
but in terms of the exercises and
Yes,
stuff. And
absolutely.
then we're going to give some tips to anybody else who's going to be competing in their high rocks.
Yeah,
And then at the end, we might finish up with what our plan is going forward.
yeah, absolutely.
So, Anne, do you want to talk about, I mean, in terms of the actual event, do
Yeah.
you want to kind of talk through what happened?
Okay, so the event in terms of setting off, there is a tunnel where you set off. So this is like right from the start, and you don't need to worry about anything because there's great direction. There's loads of people on hand from HYROX to help you, and it's very well signposted. So I looked at the event plan to see where the ins and outs were of the stadium, but they're really clearly marked with massive arches, which are yellow and black. So you've got a starting tunnel, and you've basically got a loop, a circle, which you run round. The road where you're running on, because it's like a bit like a road, it's all marked out. The inside lane is the fast lane, and then the outside lane is for the more gentle paced people. We were in and out of the fast and the sort of the gentle paced people, weren't we, Sal? And then the arena is set up in obviously the 8 stations. First into ski at SkiErg, then the last one is the wall balls,
Yeah.
which by that point you are on your knees. um, so there's 8 stations, and then you've got your high rocks area, which is the ins and outs of each of the stations, and you're picking up time. You're picking up time there, which we'll go on to a bit later on. In each of the zones, there's arrows pointing you where you're going in, and then there's people directing you out, which we'll talk about more as well. But the first impression was after we'd walked around and checked out all the different areas, we got really familiar with it. So when we were actually doing it, honestly, it was so easy to do. And I was really worried about going the wrong way. Do not even think that is, you cannot go the wrong way. You'll just get knocked over by other people, basically. So yeah, that's a little bit of an overview, but we'll go into each area in more. Should we go into, do you want to go into the exercise stations in each
Yes.
detail, right?
So we started with the SkiErg. So I did the
Yeah.
250, and then you took
I
it, did the
did 500 in the
500,
middle.
and we just stood behind each other, encouraging each other just to go at a steady pace, because that was our kind of mantra, really, all
Yeah.
about the right pace and not killing ourselves on the first exercise. So we just stood behind each other,
Yeah.
encouraging each other to
Yeah.
stay at a steady pace. And then I took over and did the last
Yeah. That's the
250
50.
as per the plan, and then we did the next
And then
one.
we're out again. So there's an arrow on the floor when you finish your exercise. There's somebody pointing, you go out, and then you're around the circuit and you're going around that twice. And
Next
then
up was sled push,
mhm.
which went without any issues at all. 4 lengths, and that was
We
fine.
shared those though, didn't we?
Yep.
Yeah, we shared them and broke them down into half a length each, making sure that we didn't get too tired on those because obviously you're running, the adrenaline's going. So yeah, sled push,
Sled push, that was
out,
that one.
out again to run round twice
Yep.
again. And you're obviously in and out of the high rocks areas. The high rocks areas, is they call them zones, Sal? High rock zones
Yeah.
are the areas where you transition between one exercise and another, then you've got the circuit on the outside. So off we went again, and then we came back to sled pull.
Which was a little bit of a challenge because the lane was a lot narrower than we've trained with.
Yeah,
And you had to manage the rope within your lane, which meant so that you didn't go into the other person's lane, it had to go behind you, which meant that the area where we could pull the sled into using our feet and stepping back was much shorter.
yeah,
And there was quite a lot of close judging, and I got warned about our foot at the front of the lane, and then we got warned about our foot at the back of the lane.
I was
So
oblivious.
So the guy was really quite on it
Yeah.
in terms of the area which we could operate, and it was difficult not to actually stand on the
Yeah,
rope. And
it
of
really
course, in the
was.
gym the previous week, I'd actually fallen over, hadn't I,
Yeah.
standing on the rope?
Yeah.
So it was really quite difficult to do the sled pull in the way that we'd trained. So
Yeah.
that was probably one of our slowest
Yeah.
stations and an area that we'd be looking to work on next time. But anyway, back on the run.
Back on the run, t twice round
And
again.
I stopped for a wee.
Yeah.
But luckily, you could just duck out because we had the burpees next.
Yeah. Burpees.
Um,
The burpees, the actual circuit for you down one side 100 meters and you down the other looks really long. And I was like, oh, excuse me. But actually, once you're down and doing it, you're just in the zone and you just get on with it. The most important thing to remember on this actual station is there's a purple pink line, and you've got to start behind that with your hands, and you've got to adhere to the rule of not getting 30 centimeters more ahead of your foot from your back of your foot. So your back of foot's here to actually the front to the back of your hand. So be really careful about that spacing when you're coming up, and also the transitioning between two people.
yeah, we weren't quite sure we got that right, were we?
No, but we think we have, looking it up, it's still not quite clear. But when you're changing over, don't go ahead of where your partner's
Mm.
finished off. That's really important. But yeah, a tough one. Sal, you came good on that one and did a few extras. We were doing five each. And then at the end, Sal did, I think she did 8 or 10 on her own. She was like, come on, I'm doing this. I was like, go on, crack on. And then off we went again, round
And that was
again.
good because we were
Yeah,
halfway at that
yeah,
point,
it's halfway.
and it was good to get the
Yeah,
burpees over and done with. And then what was next? Was it the rower?
yeah. Rower.
Then we were on the
Yeah,
rower.
the excuse me.
Um, and that was fine.
Yeah,
In
rowing's
fact,
fine.
the interesting thing about the rower was because I did the last bit and actually getting off the rower and instantly running, I underestimated the impact on my leg. So that was
Mm,
quite interesting actually, that jumping straight from rowing to running
yeah,
um is quite a challenge. But that was fine. After, half a
yeah.
lap that had worn off. So yeah, all
Because
good.
you do use a lot of your leg power for rowing. We
Mm.
use a bit of both, but your leg power is quite important. So yeah, it's interesting. It's about the pace and seeing what your body does.
Yeah.
Off we went again, back in.
I think it was
Farmers
farmers
carry,
carry, which was
farmers
great.
carry. Yeah, that Sal was like awesome. She was off she went, and I couldn't even keep up with her. And she was like, phew. So yeah, that didn't phase us at all, did
We were
it?
quite looking forward to that station because we'd
Yeah,
had a chat with the guy that was marshalling there or judging. The guy was called Joshy, wasn't it? Because
yeah,
we'd had a chat with him on our way round in the morning. And so we caught up with him again
yeah. So I
during our
haven't said
farmers
hello
carry.
to Joshy. You
Yeah,
remembered
so that was
us?
nice. So it's
Yeah,
good to see a familiar
yeah,
face. And that we did that in about 2 minutes, I think.
yeah. That was a really good round for us. I
Yeah.
mean, I've got to say, the sled push, the sled pull, and then burpees. I think that's those three together, topped off with the rowing. It's a blower, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So then we had the farmer's carry and then we just had two left. So next up was the lunges.
Just yeah. Again,
We swapped over when we needed.
yeah, we swapped over when we needed. We transitioned by standing up, and Sal went back to back with me.
Yeah.
We passed the bag over really carefully because you can get injuries there if you drop it or you knock your partner's neck. And we just kept saying, we just kept tapping out, and that made that Sally could take over from me.
Yeah.
I found that one quite tricky on the back on the homeward stretch. My legs were just starting to go, and I thought I can't even get up off the floor. But then again, Sal took over, and we got back out onto the route to run, and my legs then recovered. So, your recovery, listening to your body and not overdoing it, gives you that energy to keep going. And then after that,
Yeah,
off
and I
it.
think this is the benefit of doing doubles is that you do get a rest time. I
Yeah,
think doing solo would be so much more challenging because
yeah,
you just don't get a rest. Whereas, when Anne took the sandbag, I was just literally just resting and your
yeah,
heart rate comes back down. But I think doing a solo, hats
incredible.
off to the people that
Yeah.
do that. So yeah, last two laps, last of the
Oh,
run.
lap 15, so I was like, come on, and I'm thinking, oh, just get me out.
And then was the wall ball. So I started
Wonderful.
off and I got
Yeah,
15 out of 15, and that felt brilliant. And I think
yeah,
you did 15 out of
yeah, that
15.
was all right.
And then it just all went a bit downhill from there. Whether
Yeah,
I think I managed 12 or 10 and then started missing.
yeah. The same for both of us. Those middle ones were the hardest ones because I think we were so fatigued at that point. Literally, we could see that the finish line was literally to our left, and it was like, I just want to get up that ramp. but it was we pulled back, didn't we? And then we just started to get the we then
Swap
started to be
over.
more consistent towards the end. But what was interesting about the wall ball is we think that the pad, as long as you hit it somewhere on the pad, you
Yeah.
are scoring.
Yes.
I probably need to look at the technicals of how it works because maybe it's a laser or something, I don't know. But we felt that you didn't have to be exactly on target. Um, yeah, so this is so the wall ball pad.
I think you can literally touch
Yeah,
anywhere.
yeah, I think so. Yeah,
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 which is good.
yeah,
Yeah, I think we needed that. Otherwise, I think we'd still be there.
yeah.
And then we ran up the ramp
Ran up the
and
ramp, collapsed on top of each other.
yeah.
And that was it really. And they got
And
filmed because
and
it
I
was
guess
sim
throughout there'd been a big focus on smiling for the cameras as well because there was a lot of photographers there and yeah, so hopefully get some good photos out of it.
yeah. But all in all, awesome
Yeah, we loved
experience.
it. We loved it.
Absolutely fantastic. And yeah, everybody was there. There was every level of fitness, which I found really quite inspiring.
Mm.
So yeah.
Obviously, there are some really, really fit people there that kind of get round the entire thing in an hour or under. But of course, as Anne says, there's people there of all shapes and sizes, all ages, all abilities, and it's a really great event.
Yeah.
Um, everybody was just having a go and getting
Everybody was
round.
really happy,
Yeah.
really friendly. Yeah, it was just everything and so much more. So really, really recommend it.
And so, some top tips for anybody who's either competing soon or thinking about competing. We've got some top tips,
We
haven't
have got
we?
some top tips, yeah.
Um, so for the one in Birmingham, it was in Area 5. So anybody looking for the Birmingham High Rocks is Area 5 of the NEC because it wasn't signposted
Was
at
it? We'll have
all.
to ask a cleaning lady where it was. She went down that way. We're like, oh, okay, no signs. But anyway, that's
And there's plenty of toilets. There's toilets inside and out. And even if there's a massive queue for the ladies' toilets, which there was, that would take probably about 10 or 15 minutes to go down. But
mhm,
right next door is the men's, and they had just as many toilets and no queue. So they're the
interesting.
top tip. And
Yeah,
there's also toilets just off the track, which I think are probably the toilets that are designed for the warm-up area.
yeah,
You can actually just sneak through from the track and nip in if you do need a quick stop
yeah.
on the way.
We walked round before. That was a really key. So we got there mega early, but it was so useful and the time absolutely flew. When we got in there, we booked in as a spectator. So we got a white band for no white band for athletes and pink band for spectators to give you one round your hand. And we were then able to walk right around the arena in the spectator area. When you go over to the main section, you go over a bridge, an indoor bridge, and you can get into each section and watch what's going on. So we took each section one by one and watched what everybody was doing, how they were coming in, how they were going out, how they were actually handling the machinery and what they were doing. That was so useful. So we went from one station to the next station, and actually we probably did that twice throughout the
Yeah,
time there. We just
yeah.
kept looking at it and going, oh, what about that? Let's go back. And it was so good because there were pros were competing at that time. So it was really good to watch.
Yeah, and doubles as well for
Yeah.
people watching the
Yeah.
handovers. But as Anne says, it's really useful to see when you came out of the run and where you would actually go into
Yeah.
the exercise. And you could see they were channeling people right down the bottom so that perhaps you had a longer run to the exercise, but then you could see the route out of the exercise as well. And everybody followed the
Yeah.
same route, a
Yeah.
bit like a handover in a
Yeah.
triathlon. Everybody kind of follows the same route
Yeah.
regardless of the
Yeah.
position of the equipment. So it meant that when we were running, we weren't wondering where to go
Yeah.
or whatever. We knew exactly where we had to go on each station. So it was well worth doing that full kind of recce of
Yeah.
the arena.
And I think before as we were coming to each station, because every time you come back in, you go through the big yellow arch. When we say big yellow arch, it's like 20 feet, 30
Mm.
feet high. And that's where you go into the HYROX area for each station. Excuse me, I've now got a HYROX cold. And even on the doorway to each station, which is marked with a number and the name of what it is, there's actually somebody there going pointing,
Mm.
and then there's somebody at the other end saying here. So you don't need to worry about anything. There's so many people there to
Mm.
help you along.
Yeah. Another tip is there's a bag drop area, and you can drop your bag there an hour before your race. Again, we found there was a bit of a queue. So our recommendation is to actually join the queue 15 minutes before an hour
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
Because then you can go and join the warm-up area. And of course, in the warm-up area, you get to try all the equipment because the kettlebells for the farmer's carry were different to ours in the gym. So we got an opportunity to try those out. Again, with the sleds, we got an opportunity to try them out. So we kind of
Yeah.
knew that the
Yeah.
sled pull was
Yeah.
going to be a bit of a
Yeah.
challenge. We
Yeah.
also had a try out with the wall bowls. So I definitely recommend spending time in the warm-up area because it gives you a chance to try all the kit, which of
Yeah.
course may be different from your gym.
Yeah.
Um, so that was good. I think we talked about the sled pull, and I guess finally, we just soaked up the atmosphere.
Yeah.
We spoke to people, we took
Yeah.
people's photos, we took loads of our own photos, and it's just we just focused on having fun,
Yeah,
really.
and it was great fun. It was an exceptional day. I don't think we've mentioned about the changing rooms. Did we
Have we
say
not
about
mentioned
changing
those
rooms? So
rooms?
we've got the changing rooms are next to the bag drop, and there's plenty of space. It's an open changing room, one for ladies, one for gents. And this is one thing to remember. When you go to drop your bag off, they actually write your number from your ticket on your arm. Now, take a picture of that. I think they remind you to do that because when you sweat, that comes off. Because when you go back, you've got to show that number to get your bag
Mm.
back. So that's quite important as well.
And if I were you, I would take a really brightly coloured bag
Yeah,
because when
that's a
we
good
went to
point.
pick ours up,
Yeah,
there was just loads of shelves full of black
yeah,
bags,
that's a really good
and you couldn't
point.
spot your bag.
Yeah,
So if I went next time, I'd take a bright
yeah,
red one or
yeah,
something.
yeah, that's a good top
One
tip.
thing we didn't do at the end was warm down or stretch, and I think we would do that next time, wouldn't we?
Absolutely.
I
Yeah,
guess we were so excited.
we were really excited. Yeah. And you get your pictures taken at the end. So when you come off, when you go on you're on the wall balls, which is really close to the finish line, and you go up a little ramp, and then as you go up, your name and your time is appears there, and it was like 1 hour 35, yay! And then from there, you come off that, and then you go into a queue where you can then have your picture taken. And it's great because the clock's above you. And when you go under,
Mm,
because you've got a tag on your leg, oh, we need to tell you about the tags.
mm,
Tag on the leg on your leg, your number, which has been recorded electronically, then comes up, your time comes up above you and get your picture taken. That was a really right nice thing to do. The tag thing that we're talking about on your leg is what you're given when you first come in. It's an electronic tag, which you've got to wear with the electronic. I think it's a yellow square thing. It's got to be worn to the outside. But again, all the officials will help you
mm,
with that. But that's what records your time in and out to the different
mm,
sections. And when you look at your results, it's broken down into every single section, which is really good for future data for improving on your
mm.
times.
Yeah. So should
Yeah.
we talk about that now then, in
Yeah,
terms of,
yeah,
so we definitely think that is our first, but not only high rocks. So we're thinking about training for another one already.
yeah,
And yeah, what are you thinking, Anne?
yeah. So next one, for sure. As soon as we came off, I was like, I've got to do this again. But when you need to you need to let everything settle for a few days because you're all giddy. Anyway, I'm still giddy, and we're still doing one. We've already chatted about it. But in terms of looking at the results and what we did have a strategy because Sal's a stronger runner than me. I'm a good runner now because I've been working on it, but I know that I can improve. From the times, we were doing approximately 6 minute to 4 second kilometers, which for me was really good. But I can improve on that and I can see where I can maybe shave 15 minutes off each lap, which is a massive saving. I mean, what is that, Sal? 2 minutes?
Mm,
No, 4 minutes. 4 minutes of our time if we save 15 minutes per lap because there's 16 laps. So quite easily by looking at the stats, you can start looking at those things. Sled pull, do you want to talk about the sled
yeah, I
pull?
think we can get some time off the sled pull. We need to practice that in the sort of the race conditions and
Mm,
race scenario in terms of rope management
yeah.
and that kind of thing. I think we probably need to improve our stamina when it comes to the wall bowls
Yeah.
because, we got one 15 out of 15. And I think it would be great if we could work up to doing four lots of
Yeah.
15 out of 15.
Yeah.
And I think, we can see our progression from when we started, when we couldn't even get one out of one.
Yeah.
So we know that we can improve. And I think it's just about chipping away and
Yeah.
improving that stamina.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's the end one, so you are at your tightest, but you can reenact that,
Hmm.
and the endurance is really important and the recovery. So that's something I'm gonna look more into. But again, it was such a great experience. It just shows what you can do from not being able to do one wall ball to like 100 between you. What else? I think the lunges for me, I struggled a bit. Again, it's the second to last, I think, exercise or third to last. But again, I can see how I can improve that. So I'm just thinking, okay, when we first started this training, I could not do lunges
No.
with weights. Now I'm doing 15 kg on my back. But in terms of putting it with the running and all the endurance of a high rocks, I now know what I need to do. So I've got more knowledge, and I'm really interested in seeing how we can shave off more time. So yeah, this is just the start.
Yeah, great. Well, that's the end of the series, Anne. And I just want to thank all of our listeners and, well done if you made it through the entire series and have listened to all 12 episodes. I think you probably deserve a HYROX medal as well. And really appreciate everybody listening. And we look forward to bringing the next mini series to you. And I guess if anybody has any mini series requests or any
Absolutely.
particular topics that they would like us to focus on, we'll bring those to you. But yeah, thank you so much for listening and speak to you soon.
Thank you.